TF-51D トレーニング後編に入るよ。エンジンは動かせたから次は離陸だと意気込む人たちはいるだろうけど、その前にタキシングのやり方を学ばないと滑走路に移動することはできないよ。タキシングによる方向転換は自動車の運転というより深地旋回する戦車を操縦するような感覚かな。左右の車輪をどう動かすかといった感じだね。とにかく細かい操縦方法は動画を見て学んでみよう。
Welcome to the taxi lesson. Press the spacebar key to begin. As with most other aircraft configured with a tail-dragging undercarriage, taxiing in the P-51 can be tricky. Forward visibility is obstructed by the nose, and it doesn't take much to nose over into the ground. To maintain awareness of the area ahead, the aircraft is taxied in a zigzag or S pattern, turning it from side to side as it rolls forward. You can move your head position to either side in the cockpit to peek around the nose. To do so, press left Alt plus C to enable mouse view mode, and press and hold the mouse wheel while dragging the mouse left and right. Alternatively, you can use the commands right control plus right shift plus num 4 and right control plus right shift plus num 6 to move your head from side to side. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Another important element to keep in mind is the position of the control stick. When the stick is held aft of center, pulled toward the pilot, the tail wheel is limited to 6 degrees of rotation to either side. This is the standard taxi and takeoff position of the stick. It helps maintain directional control, but limits the turning radius of the aircraft. When the stick is pushed forward of neutral, the tail wheel is unlocked and becomes free swiveling. In this case, the rudder pedals do not control the tail wheel. This makes it possible to perform tight turns, but can be very tricky to control as the aircraft rotation can be sudden and violent depending on speed, applied brakes, engine power, and rudder position. Press the spacebar key to proceed. When taxiing over a smooth and level surface, such as this runway, very little engine power is required. It's also best to minimize the use of brakes to prevent unnecessary wear and heating. Hot brakes can easily ice over after takeoff as the aircraft climbs into colder temperatures at altitude. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Press right control plus enter to open the controls indicator so you can monitor the position of your flight controls. Pull the control stick aft of center and hold it there to keep the tail wheel locked for taxiing. To practice taxi control, we will use a lead car to take you through a short taxiing course. The car is now waiting in position to your left. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin. The car will now drive forward at about 10 mph. Add a little power to begin moving forward. Use the numpad plus and minus keys to control the throttle. Use the Z and X keys to control the rudder pedals to turn left and right. Use the W key to depress the wheel brakes as required. Zigzag from side to side as you follow the car through the course. Try to stay between 100 and 300 feet from the car. Don't worry, if you get too far behind, it will stop until you catch up. Don't get too close either, or the driver will panic from fear of being turned into mincemeat and will stop.
ほんのお気持ち程度でスロットルを上げるよ。車はどこ？見つけた。ついていけばいいんだね。
The car is moving again. The car will now turn onto the taxiway to the right.
深く旋回したい場合はラダーだけでなく車輪のブレーキを使おう。右旋回したい場合は右車輪にブレーキをかけ、深く左旋回したい場合は左車輪にブレーキをかけるんだ。 左車輪のみブレーキをかけるときは左コントロールダブルを押か、右車輪のみブレーキをかけるときは左オルトダブルを押かするんだ。だけどこれだと操縦しづらいよね。そう思ったらコントロール設定を変えるといいよ。片方車輪のブレーキ設定はスロットルボタンに設定を変更すると直感的にブレーキをかけやすくなるよ。みんなもこの設定だときついなぁと思ったら自分のやりやすい設定にするといいよ。
The car will stop here. See if you can pull up next to it. The car is moving again. This concludes the taxi lesson. Nice job.
タキシングってこんなに難しいんだ。自動車や自転車乗る感覚でやったら大やけどするねこれ。まあこの飛行機操縦すると決めたら努力するしかないね。タキシングの次はお待ちかねの離陸だよ。これは思った以上にあまり難しくなかったよ。
Welcome to the takeoff lesson. Press the spacebar key to begin. The 51 is generally very controllable in takeoff, but the powerful engine and large propeller spinning at the front do require careful use of the rudder in order to maintain a straight course down the runway. A right rudder trim of 5 to 6 degrees is a standard takeoff setting and is usually sufficient to maintain directional stability in the takeoff run. A normal takeoff is performed at takeoff power, which is 61 inches of manifold pressure at 3,000 RPM. However, to minimize controllability issues while practicing, we will take off at a reduced power setting of about 50 inches of manifold pressure. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Your primary instruments during the takeoff run will be the airspeed indicator on the left side of the instrument panel and the manifold pressure indicator on the right side. Once in the air, We will use the turn indicator and the rate of climb indicator to maintain a desired flight path. Press the spacebar key to proceed. The first key element of a successful takeoff is a gradual onset of power. You cannot just slam the throttle forward. The torque effects of a sudden burst of power are very likely to run you off the runway and into the grass with devastating results. The other key element is the tail lift. As the aircraft accelerates toward 100 miles per hour, the tail will lift itself off the ground, unless held down with some stick back pressure. You can perform a takeoff without a tail lift by simply holding the stick back to maintain a 3-point attitude until the plane flies itself off the ground. Most pilots, however, prefer to let the tail rise up to continue accelerating while running on the front wheels before lifting off into the air. Press the spacebar key to proceed. The takeoff starts with the stick held back to keep the tail wheel locked for a controlled ground run. To perform a tail lift, neutralize the stick as speed approaches 100 miles per hour. Be careful to avoid lifting the tail too early by pushing the stick forward. The changes in pitch angles occurring during the tail lift cause significant directional instability, which is more difficult to control at slower speeds. Careful rudder input will be required to maintain heading as the tail lifts. You may need to alternate a bit of right and left rudder input before stabilizing for the liftoff. Press the spacebar key to proceed. Flaps are not used in a normal takeoff. 15 to 20 degrees of down
ラダートリムタブのコントロールホイールをクリックしてドラッグしてくださいと説明されているけど、ここはマウスカーソルを合わせてマウスホイールで調節した方がやりやすいよ。
Set the rudder trim to about 5 degrees right. Click and drag the rudder trim tab control wheel. On the throttle quadrant, make sure the RPM lever is set all the way forward to increase. If not, press and hold the page up key to set it. Hold down the wheel brakes using the W key. Using the numpad plus and minus keys, control the throttle to set the manifold pressure to about 30 inches. Somewhat after the usual to keep the tail wheel locked. Whenever you're ready, release the wheel brakes to begin the takeoff run. Use the rudder or C and X keys to maintain your heading down the runway. Gradually add power to set about 50 inches of manifold pressure. Neutralize the stick to lift the tail. Easy on the rudder. Check the pull down on the speed to take off. Watch the turn. Use the rudder to pull on the control.
次は着陸だよ。ここだけの話、5回チャレンジして4回失敗したよ。マニホールド圧力はぴったし30じゃなくても大丈夫だよ。正直、常にぴったしは無理かも。
Mustang is not equipped with an autonomous system, such as ILS. This means landings are performed using a visual approach pattern. In this lesson, we'll use a standard military overhead pattern. An overhead pattern consists of the following basic elements. Entry into the pattern of the upward wing, where the aircraft is flown along the wing parallel to the landing course. The crosswind wing, where the aircraft is turned 180 degrees to take the downward landing, using the turn to be off at axis speed. The downward where the aircraft is flown along the runway in the opposite direction of the landing course and is prepared for landing. The baseline, where the aircraft is turned another 180 degrees on the scene to take the final approach. The final approach, where the aircraft is flown down a steady glide path past the runway threshold to the detection of the wing. I've included an image of the mission briefing showing an example of the overhead approach pattern. To open the briefing, press the left button press B. Press the space bar. The lengths and altitudes of the pattern will vary. For this practice mission, we will assume a typical pattern. Entry at 1,000 feet above ground level and holding at altitude of 1 range. Baseline, descending to 600 feet towards the final approach point. A normal 3-degree glide slope from the final approach point, starting at 600 feet of altitude and 2 nautical miles away from the runway. Pressing the space bar increase. Airspeed slower than the pattern depending on the aircraft. For the 51D, the pattern speed is no greater than 200 miles per hour because the landing gear and flaps can
分かりきったことを言うかもしれないけど、着陸時は極力スピードを落として着陸態勢に入ろうね。
and the crosswind turn before settling down and land, dropping the gear and flaps for final approach. Final approach is flown at 120 miles per hour and touchdown speed is 90. Pressing the space bar. Landing is one of the most difficult and dangerous elements of flying, especially in the airplane.
ほんと着陸は難しいよ。スピードを落としすぎたかなと思ってスロットルを急に上げたりすると機関部の努力で機体が不安定になったりするからね。事故のもとだよ。
Once we enter the pattern, be careful to avoid large falling areas and have to use those carefully to maintain control and steering flight. Pressing the space bar. Before entering the pattern, set the engine mode to 2,600. You should see the
右前方に緑の輪っかが出てきたね。あの中をくぐるんだよ。
We are approaching the pattern. Level off at 1,000 feet. Follow the gauge to fly the pattern. Good job entering the pattern. You are now in the Keep an hour now and on. The next leg will be the crosswind turn. Taking 180 degrees left to put the plane downwind. Use the turn to lead off at an excess speed so that you're below 200 degrees on the downwind leg. downwind current. Maintain airspeed around 160 mph and altitude at 1,000 feet.
ちょっと早いけど、ここで着陸装置を展開するよ。
Lower the landing gear by pressing G. Watch the landing gear warning lights and make sure you get through the light.
キーを押してと記載されているけど、実際は左シフト F キーをしてね。フラップを上げたい場合は左コントロール F だよ。ほら、ちゃんとフラップが下がっている。やばいやばい、コースがずれている。よし、このまま直進して最終進入だ。3点着陸を意識してゆっくり地面に近づこう。よしよし、この調子。タッチダウン。スホイ 25T とは違って着地したらすぐホイールブレーキは厳禁だよ。機体が地面に直撃しちゃうよ。そのためある程度スピードが落ちたらこまめにホイールブレーキをかけよう。
Set throttle to idle power at 1,000 RPM. You missed some of the pattern gates in your approach. Next time, fly the pattern more accurately. Continue to roll to the next available taxiway to the right. Press and hold left shift plus C to open the canopy.
無事に停止したね。やったよ。全体的に TF-51D を始めるきっかけとして参考になったかな？本機のみならず DCS ワールドの乗り物はとにかく乗り慣れるために学習したり操縦感覚をつかむのははっきり言って楽じゃないよ。だけど今までわからなかったことが理解できたり乗り物を乗り慣れたりするときものすごい達成感が出てきて感動ものだよ。とっつきにくい部分はあるけど操作が簡単なエースなんちゃらとは違う楽しみがあると思いたいね。まああっちはストーリーを楽しんだり空のヒーローになるためのゲームだからそういうものだよね。さて次回はなんとあのキリタンたちが今までにない超ド級の大型計画を立ち上げるよ。詳細は新年のご挨拶にて発表されるみたいだよ。 なんだろうね。楽しみだね。それでは皆様、良いお年を。ご視聴いただきありがとうございました。この動画が少しでも良いと思った方は、チャンネル登録と高評価ボタンを押してください。次回も楽しみにね。